Welcome to Roto Wire Fantasy Football Live. Happy Friday, everybody. Week 4, we're already at it. Hey, remember, we're on 5 days a week. Take off Wednesdays and Thursdays during the regular season, but join us 11 a.m. Eastern every day. However, weekend schedule is going to be a little bit different here, so please listen up to this. Now, the start-sit stream that you normally have on Sundays, we've had a lot of great people come in. That because of the London games, don't want to compete with the NFL games. Those start-sit streams will be Saturdays during week 4, 5, and 6 at the usual time, 11 a.m. The gambling show with John Ryan will be on Saturdays, but an hour earlier, 10 a.m. Eastern. Look, gambling advice, let's make it real easy. If you want to be a winning gambler, which you already know your stuff, listen to the best. Got Adam Thompson on Friday. Today, he'll be on the show. Got John Ryan on Saturday. Make sure you're listening to people that are documented winners, know their stuff, and can help make you money. You make your decisions at the end, but just the people I'm bringing on, these are the people that I will take my gambling advice from. Just the same. Player props, that's me. I'm good on player props, but I stay in my lane. Individual team totals, kind of good with that. But again, Adam Thompson, the man. John Ryan, the man. Stay tuned for Adam today. All right, let's talk Lions and Packers. Lions, wow, they came out to a roaring start. That's a bad joke. All right, but they did come out to a roaring start at Green Bay. Got out the gates hot, and that was after an early turnover. It looked like Green Bay would have had some early momentum. Not even close. But here's the thing. Fantasy football. Jared Goff, since last year, now, 17 games last year, 4 games this year. Basically, home Jared Goff and road Jared Goff are two different players. You're getting wins on the road. All right. But fantasy, again, continuing last year's trend. He had one game with multiple touchdowns. It was like week 16 against Carolina. That game kind of shot out. Every other game, 1 or fewer touchdowns. Well, week 1 at Kansas City, Goff plays well, but 253 and a touchdown. Not a great fantasy line. Doesn't really run. Green Bay, despite the dominance and the 34 points they put up, 210 and 1 touchdown and a pick. Now he runs for 10 yards. Sauger, good morning. So, at home, Jared Goff, 2 games, 3 touchdowns against Seattle, Atlanta, 1 rushing, 1 passing. So, again, just understand if you're playing Jared Goff in fantasy, if he's at home, you start him. If he's on the road, be careful. He hasn't had but 1 road game that's been good out of his last now 9 or 10. So it's a very, very definitive trend. It's a small sample size sport, but it's been consistent. David Montgomery, what else do I say? We thought the thigh was going to maybe limit him. The initial Uncle Ted, good morning. So with David Montgomery, we heard him say when he injured the thigh, Charlene, morning. Yay, you put in Montgomery since he didn't play last week. Yay, you did very well. Very great move, Charlene. So Montgomery was a little bit concerning because he said it would be like weeks, right? And just continue to understand, it wasn't. He came out 32 carries, and this is what the game out of hand late. So he was clearly fine. Maybe a little gamesmanship by the team there because he was clearly 100%, because if he wasn't, they could have pulled him at any point in the fourth quarter and probably been fine. So the 2 games Montgomery's played, because he left the week 2 game with an injury, 21 carries against the Chiefs, 32 carries against Green Bay, and his snap share is in the 75% range overall. He is the lead guy in that offense. I imagine if they fall behind in games, that might be different. Tom, I get it. Montgomery, like I said, I mentioned earlier, he said that it would take him weeks to be fully ready. And so putting him in a short week, we can't. Process is process. We only have limited information we go on. And Montgomery goes off. Nobody could have called a 3-touchdown game. His opening game against Kansas City, that would have been a reasonable expectation. 74 and a touchdown, not big upside, but he goes off. Green Bay hasn't been good against the run. They were without Devondre Campbell, who's good in the run game as a linebacker, and then their front line hasn't been a good run defending unit. So I guess when we look back, hindsight, it stacks up. But again, usually when these games are in Green Bay, they're lower scoring games. This game went off the rails. Amon-Ra St. Brown just keeps on keeping on. The lower volume in 3 games. I mean, not low for his standards, right? He has a 7 target last night, so it was a second 7. He has a 9. He threw a 12 target game in there. But that's going to be the baseline for him. That's a high number. if you take 10 targets per game over 17 games, 170 targets. So, he's not seeing that rookie year end of the season, 15 targets, a game. We're not seeing, but it's just fine. St. Brown's chugging along. He's your great wide receiver one. Hasn't had a ceiling game. He scored twice, hasn't gone over 102 yards, but he's fine. He's fine. He's what you wanted, right? Josh Reynolds, again, he was hurt last week. We didn't know. But when he's on the field, he's been good for at least 66 yards in the 3 games he's played well. So there's that. So at least until Jamison Williams is back, Josh Reynolds is playable. Again, we throw to 0 out last week. He was hurt, and clearly he played 77% of the snaps, but he was a decoy. He had to have been, because when you're getting 6 targets in every other game and you get 0 in one, there's got to be something between the lines we have to read. It wasn't just chance. So he clearly was a decoy last week, but he was fine this week. So again, if you need him, flex is the best. I don't know if we could trust him as a wide receiver 3, but maybe you can. PPR, he's been 12, 23, and 9. So that probably fits in that bucket, but flex is probably the safest lane for him. Khalif Raymond, just, he had a 40-yard run. So there was that. But again, his snap share hasn't been more than 42% in the game, 23 last night. So again, he's just deep league, multiple flexes. You're in an injury pinch. Buys will be coming up. Sam Laporta, again, fine. He had that one game at 11 targets last week, and that was the outlier right now. The other 3 games, it's been 5 and 6 targets. And now, remember, so the main thing we want to say here is that role in the offense seems secure for him. I don't think it's changing. I think it's 5-6 targets a game, but he's getting 4 to, and again, he had that 884 and a touchdown last week, and that was, that's a spike week, and players have those. But Laporta looks like he's going to be a 4 to 5 catch guy, that 35 to 55 yard. That's great. For a tight end, that's stability. And for where you drafted him, you are getting your money's worth. And there will be some touchdowns. He'll probably score 6 touchdowns on the season. He has 1 already. They could come in bunches. So, yeah, Sam Laporta has been great. And, Uncle Ted, you were playing against Goff and Jones this week. So there you go. Yes, that worked out well for you. For sure it did. And so I think we turned a page on the Lions here. And Charlene, get it. Yep, the Lions off definitely trusting them for sure. They're getting it done. That offensive line is really good. It's nice to have Taylor Decker back at left tackle. He's a big difference maker for them. It's a great line overall, but he is the anchor. All right, Packers side of the ball. So it's 2 weeks in a row now with Jordan Love that he's come out really rugged. Last week against New Orleans, rugged, and then they fell down 17-0. They come back 18-17 win. This week they fall way behind early. He's making mistakes, and then they still get blown out, but he had it close. He had it close for a while. So we got to read between the lines. We don't know what it is. Small sample. But remember, I tell you all the time that when a team gets a big lead, there's that subliminal button in the back of your mind that tells you won. And your logical mind says, no, play hard. They're dangerous. But the subliminal switch goes off because you feel you won the game. The adrenaline is completely different. And so we don't know if Jordan Love benefited from New Orleans and Detroit both having a subliminal switch turn off, because he goes from completely ineffective to completely effective in shootout mode late in games. So there's that. Now, here's what I want to point out. Love has had multiple touchdowns in every game he's played. And so for fantasy, we love that. If you're in 2 quarterback league, you love that. I still want to point out, week 1, they played Chicago. Week 2, they played Atlanta. Those 2 games, either the Packers were leading or they were close. In those games, he attempted 25 and 27 passes. That is the offense that they want to run. That's Matt LaFleur's offense. Vorador, welcome. So that's what they want to. But you see, the New Orleans game, 44 attempts, because again they trailed 17-0. They had to go in a heavy pass mode. Last night, same thing. Not the game plan. They end up attempting 36 passes. Again because of trailing. So we have to be. So it looks like with Love, we got to be careful with that, right? So we don't know what he is yet as a quarterback, and we also can't fault him for a lot too. Christian Watson did play 46% of the time last night, had 4 targets, but this offense, Jordan Love hasn't had his offensive weapons with him the whole. Aaron Jones was knocked out a week on the hamstring, and last night, Aaron Jones only played 35% of the snaps. So Jordan Love, whatever he's going to be, it's still a work in progress. So we have not enough data. You got to have your collection of weapons. Christian Watson at its base adds a speed element that offense doesn't have. And that allows the coach, Matt LaFleur, to dial up a lot of different things. Sauger took 32 and a half pass attempts, and that worked. Yeah, and that worked because they got down big, so that worked out well for you. But again, remember, in games the Packers are going to keep close. Those passing attempts are rarely going to go over 30 in any scenario. The game plan is to run. Now, brings us to Aaron Jones. So, and Charlene doesn't trust the Green Bay offense. Right. Now, again, here's my point, though. They haven't had Aaron Jones on the field. It clearly last night. Now, Green Bay, historically, when they bring a player back, he's usually a full go. I think what I saw was with Jones playing 35% of the snaps, Watson playing 46. It told me this. It was a short week. They have a mini bye coming up. The coaching and medical staff made a decision. In my mind, the decision was, all right, they're pretty close to 100%. Let's get them through this game, get them conditioned, field condition, and then we got 11 days off, and then we're ready to go in week 5. I think that's their plan. And I believe they have a week 6 bye, I believe. Top of my head, I'm not sure. But anyway, point being, next week, I think we see what the Packers offense is, which brings us to A.J. Dillon. Look, if I'm a coach or a GM, this guy's done. He's done. He was good in his rookie year. Each year he's gone down. Bears, 13 carries for 19 yards. Now, against Atlanta, he does go 15 for 55. Less than 4 yards a carry behind a really good line, but all right, good enough. 11 for 33 against the Saints. Last night, 5 for 11. He got lucky. There was a carry late in the game when the Lions gave up. They were playing dime defense, and I think he got a 5 or 6 yard run. He's literally been 2.5 yards, 2 to 2.5 yards a carry the last 3 weeks. That's about what he's been. That's what he is. He is slow. And they keep bringing him in at the goal line. They need to stop. He is an ineffective goal line runner. I have seen him 5 times this year get slammed shut at the goal. Week 1, fortunately, on the third down, they brought Aaron Jones in, who runs the ball right in without a problem. Now, again, if they were spelling Jones, that's one thing. But if this coaching staff does not see what A.J. Dillon is, they need to get their heads out of the shade, and they need to see the sunlight, because Aaron Jones needs to be the engine of that rushing attack, assuming he's healthy coming, which he has to be now. So anyway, Watson, again, don't know what he'll be in this offense, because one thing I've seen with Jordan Love, the downfield attempts, inconsistent. His deep ball is inconsistent. We saw one. Very, very Uncle Ted, is that a real trade or is that speculation? If there's a trade that went down, let me know. If it's speculation, just let me know that too. All right. So with Christian Watson and Jordan Love, Love's been inconsistent on the deep passes. Now we saw a perfect one to Jaden Reed. Oh, thank you, Uncle Ted. We saw a perfect pass to Jaden Reed, but then we see either other passes over the weeks that have been off the mark. So that's going to be the rub with Christian Watson. How are they going to use him? You know, they can get him on jet sweeps. He's super fast. They can get him on some gimmicky stuff, but he's also very good downfield. But if the passes from Love aren't going to be accurate downfield, so again, we got to be interested to see what's going to work with Christian Watson, how they're going to use him. We don't know yet. We don't know in this iteration of the offense. Jaden Reed, his targets went down to 4, but he did catch the deep ball last night. I do think his targets take a hit when Jones and Watson are back. Again, remember, I expect the pass attempts to be lower most weeks, and I think as the number 3 receiver, I think he's the one to take the biggest hit of them all. And then Romeo Doubs, of course, 25 targets in the last 2 weeks. Those are the weeks where Love had to throw. Watson not on the field enough. So we love it while it lasts, but I think 7 targets is probably the upside most weeks for Dobbs, who were good there. And then Luke Musgrave left early with injury, caught 1 pass, quarter of the snaps, and he was out. We'll have to see how that injury goes. So that's how we're looking on them. All right, everybody, if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button if you're on RotoWire YouTube. And if you give me a follow at Jim Coventry NFL on the X or Twitter, I would greatly appreciate that. I already have 1 prop betting thread out, broke down some player analysis. I'll get 1 more of those out. And again, I do team totals, but bottom of the hour, you'll want to hang around. Adam Thompson, bookies.com, one of the best gamblers out there anywhere you'll find. And he'll be on with us bottom of the hour, giving us some 5 winners to bet on tomorrow or for Sunday. All right. Now, running backs trending downward. Not his fault. But Breece Hall's in trouble right now because Zach Wilson is so bad that defenses can't compress everybody up to the line. The Jets' offensive line is not very good. Tackles we already see. We already have Dwayne Brown dealing with injury, Mekhi Becton on and off the injury report, but he played the last game, but they're just not getting it done. But they're facing too many bodies. Teams can aggressively attack the run lanes, and they could dare Zach Wilson to throw the ball. Michael DeLuca, thank you so much for that nice comment. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you. And thank you again. And but Breece Hall, 12 carries for 18 last week, 4 for 9 against the Cowboys. He did have that 10 for 127 in the opener, got that 80-yard run early in the game. But outside of that, it's not Breece Hall's fault. He is a superstar. We don't question that for a second. Uncle Ted, thank you so much as well. We don't question Breece Hall's talent, but the situation is rotten. And I don't know if Robert Saleh is just attending to the general manager, because the general manager is the one that hires and fires coaches. But I don't know if Robert Saleh is actually believing what he's spewing. And his lines haven't been as harsh, in terms of excusing Zach Wilson. He's been a little bit more closer to saying it's a problem. He won't, but he's losing his locker room. And the defense is very angry because they know that no matter what they do, it's not going to be enough. And we're going to see some very quick discord, and that could turn into on-field performance. So I am either not betting the Jets. They're playing Kansas City this week, so not thinking about them anyway. But that defense could start to check out. So we got to be careful. Charlene, Najee. I can talk about Najee in a minute. I'll bring up Najee in a minute. But and then Dalvin Cook, kind of the same deal. We knew he was kind of like washed. He was getting targets. So like if you're desperate in PPR, that's going to be the deal. All right, I will talk about Najee. Najee, from a fantasy football perspective, has been a bust. On film, not a bust. Here's what's going on. First of all, his 19 for 65 last week, until late in the game when they were grinding out the clock and the Raiders, they knew they were running, he was running just fine. They're not giving him work. And he's still breaking tackles. What happens is when Najee's on the field, the defense is at the very minimum in their base, and they don't respect Kenny Pickett. So Najee is seeing the Raiders came in with a very unique strategy. They played a 5-man front on when Najee was on the field. Basically, instead of a 4-man front, they put a 5th man up there to deal with the run. And the Steelers line, they've been adding pieces. They're not playing well yet. They do not look good. They're not opening up room, and the 5-man front hurt them. Najee is just not getting the field goals. I read field goal on the screen from Uncle Ted. I'm sorry. He's not getting the passing down work. And Jalen Warren, look at his yards per carry. It's not good. What he's doing is this, though. When he comes in the field, defenses are immediately going in a nickel or dime because they know it's going to be pass. They know they're not running the ball intentionally with Najee. Now, they occasionally will do a draw, and he gets yardage because all the defenders are back, and he's able to sail against light personnel. Jalen Warren is a clear backup running, but the Steelers, Matt Canada does not know what he's doing. The motion he uses is not intentional. It's not setting up defenses. And so, but basically Jalen Warren is cleaning up when the defense knows Matt Canada doesn't have a play call that's going to be Najee running the ball because he's not on the field. So if they finally go back and if they think it through, Najee's fine and he can catch the ball. They need to have him on the field because if they have him on the field, they can throw more. But when they have Warren on the field, the passing game is less effective. So the whole offense is dysfunctional because of Canada. But I have seen no decline in Najee Harris. Like you saw him in that Raiders game. He had a bunch of bodies and he was still grinding through people, getting extra yards after contact. He was taking everything he could. He's not being set up for success. So for fantasy, yes, right now he's a bust, no question. And I don't know that it changes because Matt Canada apparently has somebody because they won't fire him, and I don't get it. But I get fired up about that one because it's definitely the coaching and it's not the player. And no offense to anybody, because what you see is what you see. You're a fantasy player, and you're right to say he's a bust because he's been. So anyway, that said, I don't know what's going to turn around because I don't know what Matt Canada is. Tyler Algier trending down a bit. I said when you draft him this year, he'd be a flex level most weeks. And, even in the 16 carry, 48 yard in week 2. All right, 4.8, not the end of the world. It's not a great game. Last week, fortunately, he had 3 targets, so he ends up with 29 yards of 2 catches. So we're still at that 4.9. Not what you wanted. The opener, he had 94 total yards, 3 catches, 2 touchdowns. His snap share has gone down each week. That's what's been troubling. We went from 56% to 44 to 30. Now, back to Najee Harris. Bijan Robinson, certainly earning more work. He's a superstar. They need to get him on the field. So no question there. It's just usually Atlanta's run volume is so high. Like even, like I said, Tyler Algier had 16 carries 2 weeks ago. The 7 last week is what it is. But we see the more work Algier gets, the more he gets. But Bijan Robinson, they got to play him because he's a superstar. So they'll figure something out. I still think Algier is going to have flex value most weeks. And it's just game script, things like that. Both running backs, the way this offense runs, because they're not going to be a pass team. And here's what's ridiculous. It's not that Drake London and Kyle Pitts aren't getting, they're not getting what we want. We know that. We're very frustrated. But the thing is, Mac Hollins has more production than Drake London. And right now, we see that Jonnu Smith has had more production the last 2 weeks than Kyle Pitts. And that's a problem. I get it if you're not going to throw, and I get it you can't force it to your receivers, but you kind of can because you got Bijan, and it's not like you only have Drake London. You got Kyle Pitts too. And it's a fail. It's a fail on the coaching staff. Every play that you're not getting it to Pitts in London and you're getting it to Jonnu Smith or you're getting it to Jonnu Smith or Mac Hollins, it's a loss. It's a loss. They have to get some targets, but they should not be in the same ballpark with the other guys. And that's where the disconnect with Arthur Smith is. And he's been a winner. He's winning most part. He's a good coach, but something's got to get figured out. When you have these star players, they need to get the football. It opens up your running game. Your vaunted running game gets opened up if you do that, and that's been a problem. Sauger, in terms of Drake London, I would try to trade him. Somebody's going to see the upside on that. I would think that someone's going to see that. So try to trade him first because like Uncle Ted says, maybe Heineke comes in. Now, Heineke's not good. And here's the reason he probably doesn't get in. Arthur Smith expects only one thing out of his quarterback. Don't turn the ball over. Well, Desmond Ridder doesn't. Desmond Ridder will hold the ball, take a sack, or throw it away. He won't turn it over. And so that is getting a lot of points with Arthur Smith. Not that I don't agree with it, but Heineke's a turnover machine. He's a YOLO guy. And I think that's the one thing Arthur Smith doesn't want. He doesn't want a YOLO guy. Now, the GM brings him in, so there's that. But I just think that unless Desmond Ridder starts turning the ball over, Arthur Smith's going to live with it. Isaac, Uncle Ted, I like Uncle Ted's answer on this one. The line for Daniel Jones is a real issue right now, and I don't know if they're getting Andrew Thomas left tackle back, but Seattle was normally a bad run defense, and all of a sudden, with Bobby Wagner, who can't run and cover, but he can run pass defend, can run defend. I'm sorry. Their run defense is way better this year, and I don't know how much Daniel Jones will get going here, but if Fields doesn't get it this week, I don't know what to do because Denver's slow on defense. And Denver's terrible. Now, Denver's going to move with a chip on their shoulder, okay? Because they had 70 points hung on them, but they had a lot of injuries. Both of their safeties are out. I think one's on IR. I don't know if the other's coming back this week. Justin Simmons, don't know if he's back. They also have pass rush injuries. So I think you got to go Fields this week. If Fields, here's what I want to tell everybody about Justin Fields. The one thing last year, remember, I dropped him after week 3 last year. It was like this year. It was like horrible. Can't keep them. And then all of a sudden all right, we're going to do real design. We're not these read option runs. We're going to do real design runs. And all of a sudden then he was a league winner for people. So that's still out there. That you can't just say that's not coming back. The Bears might be a horribly coached team, but this staff did that last year. So it's possible that happens. Yeah, Uncle Ted, both Roschon and Khalil Herbert. Denver is very slow defensively. They not just are bad against the pass, they're terrible against the run. And it's not just because Miami thrashed them. They're just not good right now. And so the Bears have a chance here as long as their coaching staff doesn't mess it up. Cole Kmet's the prop I'm betting this week. His 28 yards. Now, the first two games, he was well over that. Last week, they were playing the Chiefs, so good luck with that. The Chiefs have been lights out, and they just toyed with the Bears. But Denver's giving it up to tight ends. And so this is a good week to bet the over. I got that at Jim Coventry NFL, my props thread. Cole Kmet, he'll be on the one later today. I don't think he's on the one yet, but he's up. He's coming. If he's not on the current one, he's on the next one. Sauger, can the Bears win against the Broncos? They can. But I won't bet this game. I don't know what Sean Payton has in the tank. They were embarrassed last week. And the Bears could have been embarrassed, but they don't. What's the difference? They're embarrassed every week, I think, to some degree. I'm a Chicagoan, okay? So get that. All right, I understand that. They're embarrassed like most weeks now. So Denver really probably had to come to Jesus meeting this week. So they could come out a little bit fired up here. And Russell Wilson, make no mistake, his numbers look decent. Again, we still have that underthrown Hail Mary pass that got him a touchdown, like 40 yards. A little better than last year, but not much. So this game, I won't bet it. I have this game could be 28-10 either side. This game could be 17-16. Hell, this game could be 6-3. There's any outcome in this game. I cannot bet this one with any certainty at all. So they can win. Yeah, they definitely can win. But I just won't bet it. I'm just going to leave it at the Bears defense is awful. No pressure. They can't cover, and they can't stop the run. So if Sean Payton has anything, they're going to be fine. All right, Charlene, you picked up. You know what? Stashing players is always smart, especially depending what's on your roster. If there's a direct path to playing time, like Rico Dowdle, direct path to playing time. If an injury to the starting running back comes in, you got yourself somebody that's going to get usage. And remember, especially at running back, volume is king in fantasy football. Now, Josh Downs, he in 12-team leagues with multiple flexes and a decent-sized bench, he should be rostered in league. So that's a good pickup there because Josh Downs is getting targets every week. And his PPR floor, he hasn't had a ceiling yet, but his floor has been good. He is getting, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to say it's at least 5 targets a game. And I think he's got a double-digit one in there as well. So he's definitely getting the ball. And way more than Alec Pierce. And then for Leonard Fournette, here's my thing. I wonder if he is anywhere in the stratosphere of being in shape. I've seen him get heavy in the past. And the fact that he's not on a team now and through training camp, and if he was trying to get on a team and he hasn't, I don't know. I wonder how much he's been working out. And if he's not in shape and he shows up to a team, are they going to bring him in and say, oh, yeah, we'll give you a month to get – you ain't got a month to get him in shape? I might be wrong. It's a total guesstimation. And if so I don't think he's going to sign anywhere. I don't think so. I don't – there were certain things he brought to a team, but there's a lot of drawbacks to his game, especially at this stage of his career. So I wouldn't feel bad about leaving him on the waiver wire. Wouldn't feel bad. We got Adam Thompson come up in the next minute or two. I can take a question here. Do we trade Diggs and Connor for Saquon and Kupp? 50-50 on that one. Saquon, if that's a high ankle, a lot of times that high ankle, you're welcome, Charlene. A lot of times that high ankle lingers for a long time. A player isn't often the same player. Now, sometimes he is. And I don't like that they're hurrying him back. Don't like that at all. Cooper Kupp is certainly, obviously, we've seen what he could do at Matthew Stafford before, so we love that. Diggs was disgruntled again last week. That's a lot of back and forth. But as long as he's out there, he's getting his 7-8 catches. Oh, betting Diggs over 6.5 receptions, juiced to like 125. That's a good bet. Miami gives up a lot of underneath stuff, and it should be a fairly high scoring game. So that's a great opportunity for him this week. Anyway, that's the bet. But anyway, the Connor and Saquon. So I don't know if Kupp loses volume because of Puka. I don't think so. Saquon, I'm worried about the injury. Diggs, the disgruntled. Connor is going to have a floor every week, but I don't know what the ceiling's going to be. I love Connor being the. So I would lean the Saquon and Kupp side because I think they as a duo have more upside than Diggs and Connor. That's what I would say. And I don't know that one side's safer than the other. I would think the volume is safe for both sides of that. It would not do the Pollard and Flowers. I think Flowers, so we've seen Flowers have the volume, and each week his production has gone down a little bit. We saw last week when Houston played them, they realized what they wanted to do. Oh, they want him to run on the screens. He wasn't getting yardage. Oh, it was Indy. It was Indy they played. I'm sorry. Indy, they were on it. He wasn't getting any yardage after the screens. They know what they want to do with him. So right now, unless they figure out something else for Zay Flowers, he's getting targets. But I'm very concerned that that's not it. Let me see if I got Adam Thompson waiting on me here. Make sure I got this going. Adam should be coming in at the bottom of the hour, which is right about now. So I'm going to make sure I have a message from him, and I sent him the studio link. It's going to make sure I've got that real quick. And then, do I like Fields? So here's the thing with Fields. And I'll add, I think we got Adam. With Fields, I have no idea what we're getting. I'm hopeful they turn him loose like last year, but right now, I'm a little skeptical. Adam Thompson, happy Friday, my friend. Always great to work with you. Your knowledge of football is unprecedented. Adam, what I was telling people before I welcome you in here, at the beginning of the show, I was telling people, be careful. Listen, you should listen to people when you're betting like Adam Thompson, because there's a lot of people out there spewing a lot of advice about betting. Make sure that you know that the people who listen to know their stuff. When you hear Adam talk, you know right away, this guy understands the game inside and out. I don't want to bring people on the show that are just going to, spitball ideas. Adam brings it every time. Adam has a long documented track record of history of winning. Adam, welcome in.
Thank you. What a long and great introduction. And you said it before. And by the way, I love everything you listen to. I learn way more listening to you than I do listening to myself. But you even say, and sometimes your Twitter threads, you say, play this if you believe it. Don't just look at me blindly, but look at what I'm saying. And if you don't agree with it, don't play it. Or, it's okay to listen to, 2 or 3 or 4 of your favorite experts and kind of take them, take everything in stride. Right. So I think, we're just here to help. Right.
That's it. Exactly. And that's it. That 100%. Couldn't say better. So, Adam, let's get into some games here. Before we do last night, any very quick thoughts on last night's, any takeaways from last night's game for you?
I like the Lions, but I didn't like them that much. They were really impressive, especially in that first half. And the Packers are not a first half team. Lions took full advantage of that. They blew them out. It was very impressive. It was very eye-opening. I'm a big fan of Jared Goff. I think he's kind of been unfairly kind of hammered on over the last few years, but the Lions have stunk the last few years. It hasn't been his fault, and now the rest of the team is kind of catching up. They finally have that run game. The defense is really looking like a Campbell defense. So yeah, they look like the team to beat now in the North for sure.
Yeah, it should be fun going forward. Adam, let's talk some week 4. So we've got the wonderful London game, which forces my weekend stream to start. I got to move it to Saturday. I don't compete with the NFL ever. They beat everybody. Anyway, we have no home team. Jacksonville's technically the home team playing in London. So it's Atlanta going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, Adam, they've caught some bad luck. They've had a lot of drop passes. Trevor Lawrence, his numbers don't look great. Ridley's dropped a couple touchdowns. Zay Jones a couple weeks ago stepped out of bounds on one that was easily inbounds. Zay Jones had a brain lapse. And so I don't know what to make of them. Atlanta, we know what they're about. They're about the run, getting a little better on defense. How do you handicap this game?
Yeah, you said it about Trevor Lawrence. You watch the Jaguars play and you watch him throw balls and you're like, wow, okay, this guy is really good. He's not in a funk. The rest of the team is in a funk, and they're not catching balls for him. He looks great, and eventually that shows when the person he's throwing to actually catches the ball. But eventually they're going to break out of this funk. Is it going to be here? It very well could be, but I think the Falcons can at least keep it close. If you can find the Falcons at 3.5 plus 3.5, I think that's not a bad play. And plus 3 is okay too. I think in the trenches, Atlanta owns this game. And, I think, Jacksonville's been okay at stopping the run because a lot of teams are passing on them a lot. But I think, we know what we're going to get with Atlanta. They're going to chew this clock. They're going to run as often as allowed by the defense. And the last 7 games at Wembley have all gone under. So I think we can expect kind of a lower scoring game here. That benefits, if history is any indication, that's exactly what the Falcons want in this game. So I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a close game, and I just want Atlanta to keep it within a field goal.
I love that. So would the under be as good of a play as the Falcons plus the points? Or
yeah, it's a low total. I can't remember what the total is off the top of my head. But it was
look
low.
it up while you're talking.
I remember thinking, and it's a little low. I think it is going to be a low scoring game.
43 and a half.
Yeah. And
43.
So that it shook me a little bit. Like, if 24-21 you lose on the under, and I think this is a game that's going to be 20-17, 20, something in that nature. Just a little close. I like taking the points there instead.
So good. Taking the Atlanta Falcons. That's the way to go. Get that bet in early. Remember, that's 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Divisional battle next, Adam. We got the Washington Commanders at the Eagles. The Eagles, a little better each week. It's very clear to me that it's a new offensive coordinator. They really aren't pulling the same levers as last year. But ultimately what they figured out is, all right, our offensive line is better than whatever you throw at us, and we can eventually just run the ball if we have to, throw it up. They're not taking the explosives as like last year. They're not taking the same level of deep shots. I want to say Devontae Smith has less than half of the rate of deep shots of last year. A.J. Browns are depressed a bit, but they've had some drops too. So overall, I think they're a work in progress, but their defense, you can attack them in the middle, but the run defense, surprisingly, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have really made this a better run defense. Commanders come in. Sam Howell hasn't met a sack he doesn't like. He'll hold the ball, problematic. Brian Robinson's off to a good start. How do you handicap Commanders at Eagles?
Yeah, Sam Howell's, you said it exactly. He holds onto the ball a little too long, and that's not uncommon with, receiver or quarterbacks who are just getting their feet wet, right? They're looking around. That's not going to work here against the Eagles, that front. So I think Washington's in a lot of trouble. We kind of saw it last week. They finally took on a true contending team in the Buffalo Bills and got absolutely obliterated. This team, Washington, and I like Sam Howell. I think he's got a bright future, but in their games that aren't against the Denver Broncos, they're averaging under 250 yards a game, and they're averaging 4 turnovers a game. So I think they're in a lot of trouble here. And you go to Philly, you're right. You're exactly right. It's a work in progress, this offense. You could tell, they're not taking those deep shots. It's not, the free for all it was last year with weapons everywhere. They still have those weapons. They're just figuring it out. They still have yet to score under 25 points in a game, though. So they're still scoring at least 25 in every game. So if they score 28 here or 31 here, which I think they very well could, how is Washington going to score 24 or 27 and cover the spread? So I love the Eagles here. I think they cover the spread. It's an odd number, -8 around there. Yeah. It's not the greatest number in the world, but I think this is a 10 to 14 to 20 point win. And remember last year, the Eagles were kind of, everybody was kind of talking about unbeaten. Are they going to go unbeaten? Washington came in there very unregarded and beat them in prime time. So I think the Eagles, will not take Washington lightly, and I think they get off to a big lead and just kind of roll from there.
Now, Adam, that game that you referenced was a Monday night game, and what happened in that game, that was the game where Washington realized, oh, hell, Philadelphia couldn't stop the run up the middle. So they just hammered them. They drained the clock, moved the chains, and they just totally caught them off guard. And that was the game where they brought in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph after that to at least try to slow the opponent's runs a little bit. And so you're right, that's a great call. Fortunately, this time for the Eagles, they won't have that because they totally have that part fixed up. So great call. So Washington, you're right. With Sam Howell, what's the default? Oh, let's attack the corners. Oh, wait. Bradbury and Slay, probably not such a good idea. So I love that. I think the Eagles should roll here. Another wonderful call on that. So next one we have, this is a playoff matchup of a couple of years ago, Cincinnati at Tennessee, where Ryan Tannehill threw that late interception when Tennessee was the number 1 seed and got knocked out. Thought that was fun. But now Derrick Henry, either the line is so bad or he is done. He's not getting snaps. He's playing about less than half the snaps, not getting much done. Cincinnati, we saw They had to get the ball out quick. They did last week. A lot of drops. Some throws don't have the zip on them, but they were able to get by the Rams. Tennessee can't defend the pass. They can stop the run all day long. What gives in this game?
Yeah. When it comes to Derrick Henry, I still think he has something left in the tank, but that O-line, we kind of saw it last year. He kind of, in spite of the blocking in front of him, still had a halfway decent season, got battered pretty bad, but now, last week he averaged just over 1 yard a rush. That's not Derrick Henry football. Now, since he can't stop the run, so that is a bit of a concern here because I like the Bengals. Laying just 2 points, I think that's a very fair number for a Joe Burrow team. We saw them kind of, figure out a way to win. He clearly wasn't 100%. They're still trying to figure it out, but he should be 1 week healthier and 1 week more confident. And now you're taking on one of the bottom pass defenses in the NFL. So I think they can just simply outscore the Titans. If it gets, if they can get off to a hot start, I think Tennessee's obviously in a lot of trouble because Ryan Tannehill just doesn't have it. That O-line's not blocking for him. And it's going to snowball from there. So I think this could be a close game. It could be a field goal game. -2 isn't bad for a field goal game, but this could also be like a 37-14 Bengals blowout game. And then you're going to really be happy that you took him at -2.
Adam, on Monday night, we used Lou Anarumo's name a lot, the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati. He went into the game against the Rams and he realized, all right, Stafford wants to get the ball out, but that offensive line is bad. And he brought relentless pressure at that line, and that line could not hold up. And obviously the Bengals didn't score a lot of points, but they had enough to win. But Anarumo completely neutered the offense. And I think with Tennessee, they have no offensive line right now. And Anarumo is going to make it hell for Ryan Tannehill. So I think you're completely on that one again, that this is one Cincinnati, whatever way they have to do it, they should be able to cover what is now a 2.5 line. There's a 40.5 total on that game. Where do you think that one falls?
Yeah, I would lean over. Just because, if Tennessee gets its way and the game is close, they should be able to get some. If Derrick Henry can't rush 24 times for 85, 90 plus yards, then it's trouble because this Bengals team has not been good in that respect. And then both teams will be scoring. I think the Bengals are going to score either way. Tennessee needs to keep it close early.
Yeah, Tennessee right now, they don't get a great pass rush. They get a little bit of interior pressure, but the Cincy line can hold up to what they have there. So, yeah, Burrow should have enough time to throw in this one. And now we go to the dysfunctional Raiders. Davante Adams is already pissed because he sees his career is winding down. This is not a playoff team. We have the Chargers, who did get a win. They tried to give it away really hard last week, but they couldn't because Kirk Cousins gave it away more. So that all said, how do you handicap the Raiders at the Chargers?
Well, you fade the Raiders, whatever you can do at this point. Jimmy Garoppolo, who knows if Jimmy Garoppolo is even going to play? He's still in concussion protocol. At this point on Friday, even if he clears it, he's going to have 0 practice time. But you look at plan B and plan C, and you're talking about 37-year-old Brian Hoyer, who hasn't won a game in 6 years. Or the 4th-round rookie pick, Aiden O'Connell. Not great either. So basically, whatever and keep in mind, even with their star quarterback Garoppolo, they haven't scored more than 18 points in a game yet. So this is not an offense that's doing anything. Jacobs last year led the NFL in rushing. This year, the Raiders are dead last in rushing through 3 weeks. Nothing is working for offense. And if you can't score against the Chargers, you are in big trouble because they are going to find a way. Even without Mike Williams, that's obviously a blow, but they drafted receivers. They have receivers out of the backfield. Eckler may or may not play. I don't know, but I don't think it matters. I think they're just going to chuck the ball. We saw Herbert chuck it over 50 times last week in a win. So I think that's going to be their strategy going forward. Put it in Herbert's hands, have him make plays, and I just don't think the Raiders can keep up on the road here, no matter who the quarterback is.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And with Justin Herbert, we were seeing a quarterback that potentially a legendary type quarterback, and the Raiders have nothing. They can't cover. Max Crosby is really it, and it's one man, and he was dinged up last week, so I don't know if he's 100%, but even so, it's one, and Rashawn Slater could hold up to him, and the other side of the line, they could double. So I think that Herbert has plenty of time to throw here. The Raiders can't afford to blitz because they certainly can't give up any of the players they have in the secondary to help with that. So, yeah, this should be a no man's land for them. So, like you said, avoid the Raiders.
Yeah.
All right.
It's, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. Try to get after Herbert. He'll pick you apart. Don't get after Herbert. He'll pick you apart. So, whatever they try to do isn't going to work, right?
The classic lose-lose scenario. So, again, this is -5 right now, so no issue laying 5?
5.5. Anything below 6 is a great deal, I think, for the Chargers.
Beautiful. Now, the last one, Monday Night Football. Seattle Seahawks at the Giants. Everyone's excited about this one. Well, maybe not, but Saquon may or may not play, limited practices, coming off a high ankle sprain, so I wonder what his effectiveness will be coming back. Seattle, they're a weird team. Their run defense is better than it was last year. Tariq Woolen missed last week. Not that the Giants are a threat to throw the ball, so maybe that's not a big deal here. Giants' offensive line is really banged up right now, and they're not good to start. How are you handicapping this one, Adam?
Yeah, it's kind of about the matchups for this one, and I think Seattle just wins most of the matchups here. Their passing game should have success. They struggled in week 1, but since then they've scored 37 points in consecutive weeks. The Giants, only the Broncos and the Bears have given up more points than the Giants. I mean, the Giants have basically played one half of good football through 3 weeks. They got blown out in 2 games against very good competition, although the Cowboys just lost to the Cardinals, so who knows what they're bringing to the table each week. But the Giants have just not looked good. Without Saquon Barkley last week, they had 150 yards of total offense. That's not going to cut it against anybody, especially not a team that you're going to have to outscore. Seattle is not very good against the pass, but Daniel Jones doesn't really have any targets in the pass game other than tight end to worry about. So Jamal Adams is back for the Seahawks. I think that's going to be a big help for them. So I just think matchups wise, it's a good situation for Seattle. Going across country for a primetime Monday night game isn't ideal. The Giants kind of have their backs up against the wall. They want to prove something, especially the last time they were on primetime. They got humiliated by the rival Cowboys. So they're going to want to show up, but I think Seattle just has too much, especially if DK Metcalf, if he can have a game coming back from injury. Too many weapons on the offense. I think Kenneth Walker is going to have a big game because they love to establish the run. Yes. And if they're successful establishing the run, then we're talking another 37-point game for the Seahawks.
So that said, I'm not excited about watching Seahawks Giants, but we watch every game. We try to learn something from it. But I think the trends you hit are right, and the Seattle does have matchup advantages. And I just can't hop on board, like you said, with those Giants receivers. It's a bad group. And Waller, you can take him out. You can play heavy on him. And I think to this point we've seen that he hasn't had a breakout game. The preseason was wonderful, but yeah, the advantages are like too great across the board. And Pete Carroll, obviously it's hard to outcoach Brian Daboll, but Daboll doesn't have the Jimmies and Joes. So at that point, it's a problem. Adam, any final words on this week's slate?
No, I'm looking forward to it. Let's keep rocking. I think Chiefs Jets, the prime time games are not Super Bowl previews or anything. Bills Dolphins is going to be a heck of a game at the early slate. That was a tough one to call. I looked at that one for a long time, and Miami's doing so many things right, but Buffalo's Buffalo, and we saw them last week kind of really impose their will on an opposing team. They have all their weapons, so I think that's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, the one thing I'm looking for in that game is right now the way that Mike McDaniel is utilizing that speed, and he didn't even have Waddle last week. Hill, Waddle, Mostert, and Achane. That speed and the way it's being leveraged, the half motions, the confusion, all the things that are being caused. I don't think Buffalo has anywhere near the team speed to hang. Their corners are like 4 or 5 guys. They're not fast at all. They're good, but they're not fast. This is a level of speed, and I think that it's going to take the league. If the league can catch up with the Dolphins, that's when I think after maybe half a season, there's enough film, multiple games. That's Miami. I don't know how the outcome is either, Adam. Miami's going to score a hell of a lot of points. Do you see it any differently?
No, I think both teams will score more than the Broncos and the Bears will score against each other. That's going to be a hell of an opposite good game, I think.
Yes, no question.
That's the somebody got to win bowl.
So he's Adam Thompson. You find him at Bookies Adam. He's here every Friday. But Adam, before I tell people where to find your work, remember, if you want to see the live stream start sit, it is not on Sundays because there's an NFL game on at the time. The live stream start sit will be Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Adam, tell everybody where they can find your work.
Twitter, Instagram, probably Twitter's I'm more interesting. At Bookies Adam, and bookies.com obviously has all of our insight and picks at bookies.com/picks for the picks themselves.
Yeah, like I said, Adam is a documented winner. Definitely make sure you're following his work and watching the show every Friday. Nice words from Charlene and Sauger. Thanks, everyone. Everyone have a great week. Good luck in week 4, and we will talk to everyone soon.